Kia ora everyone. I think this is my first, little bit dark, first Facebook Live of the year. So Happy New Year. I hope everyone had a fabulous break wherever they were, wherever you were, and to those who worked through, thank you for continuing to keep us all going while folks had a bit of time out. I was just really glad that lots of people got the holiday that that the team of 5 million deserve. I thought that I'd just give a little bit of an update on the week ahead. So I've been back in the office this week, just in my local office up here in Auckland. But right now, just packing bags again and getting ready to go to our away caucus. So that's something we do to kick off every year. We take usually a caucus meeting, and caucus, just by way of explanation, is just the term that we use to refer to all of the Labour members of Parliament. So our caucus generally meets on a Tuesday of a sitting week. We tend to meet for about 2 hours. Usually we go through the business of the House. We talk about the legislation that's coming through. We talk about, just general issues, policy we're working on. As you can imagine, that's a lot of heavy subjects for just a 2-hour weekly meeting. So what we do at the beginning of every year is we go away together for a couple of nights, a couple of days to spend a bit of time doing a bit of planning for the year. It's also a chance for our MPs to spend a little bit of time with one another and also their partners. We spend so much of our lives down in Parliament. It's nice for all of the partners to get to know one another and the kids as well. So that's what we'll be doing over the next couple of days. I'll be down there for a few days. I might jump online and give you a little bit of an update while we're down there as well. So on Thursday, I'll do a little bit of an overview of how things are looking for, the coming year when it comes to our COVID response, and also what our vaccination plans are looking like. I had a catch up with officials this week, and in fact, today I had a quick call with Prime Minister Scott Morrison of Australia. We've been working quite closely together as New Zealand and Australia on the regulatory work that we're doing around vaccine approvals. So you'll see, of course, that some of those countries who have started their vaccination rollouts are the countries where they are, very sadly losing lives. And so it's only right, of course, that they have been prioritised for the delivery of vaccines. Their own countries have their own regulators to look over all of the data that's provided around vaccines. And many of those regulators have issued emergency approvals. And that's because of the dire situation those countries are in. We've been doing a rolling process so that we are getting information through from the pharmaceutical companies from where we'll be buying the vaccines, giving us information around the clinical work that they've done and so on. Our own regulator then goes through a process to assess that with our own technical experts. So we do that ourselves to give our population comfort that the vaccinations that we'll be rolling out, and there will be different kinds, are what we should be utilising for our people. So we're going through that process, and we're working quite closely with Australia as we do that as well. So it's one thing to get all of the regulatory approvals. It's another, of course, then to have vaccines delivered. And, as we can all see, there's many, many countries who are in a very bad way who rightly need the vaccines to save lives. But nonetheless, we are still in a very solid position for when we'll be receiving ours, and our first priority, because no country is getting in one delivery enough vaccination for their whole population, no one. And so every country is prioritising. We will be prioritising those who are at the greatest risk of infection, and they are our border workers. So that's where we'll start. So we're giving a little bit of an update of some of that work at our first meetings this week. I'll be doing a few other announcements across the course of the week, but I might jump on for another Facebook Live from Nelson, where we're heading, to give you those updates as well. So I've seen a couple of questions about quarantine and whether or not a vaccination will change quarantine. So I'll just give you what we know at this stage around that. So of course, in order to keep our population safe from COVID, we need either one of two things. We either need to have enough of our population vaccinated that we know that if they come in contact with COVID, they're going to be safe and not become incredibly unwell. Or we need to know that if people are vaccinated, that they don't pass COVID on. On that second point, we actually don't have enough research yet to tell us if that's the case. So that's something that we're looking at now. Is it the case that if you're vaccinated, you're no longer at risk of giving other people COVID? You don't become a point of transmission. We don't know that yet. And so that's why at this stage, the most important thing will be getting as many people as possible vaccinated. But we will keep looking at the evidence to see whether or not, if you're vaccinated, whether or not that can make a difference to the rules around our border. But until then, the borders remain closed. They're only open to those who are our citizens and our permanent residents returning home or have an exemption to come in for a limited number of reasons. So I know that's tough, and I can see a lot of people asking about when we won't have quarantine anymore. It's just unfortunately what is required right now to keep people safe. So I know that's devastating, but I absolutely believe it's the right thing to do. Now, just one last thing I thought I'd touch on. I have had some people say, why aren't you closing the borders like the UK? Well, of course, the UK, just like New Zealand, is still allowing their citizens and residents to return. I actually don't know of any country that isn't allowing that. We, of course, have to let people who have a legal right to live here, such as our own citizens, the ability to come home. Otherwise, you're making them stateless. So, as I say, I can't think of any country that's closed their border entirely. The other thing to keep in mind is that if we had an entirely closed border, we wouldn't be able to import goods anymore. We wouldn't be able to import critical medicines and critical supplies because, of course, they come in often through our border, which requires contact with people at our maritime border or through aviation. So that's one of many reasons why we've kept the regime that we have. Constantly monitoring our infection control, though, in our quarantine, just to try and do as much as we can to keep COVID out. So, anyway, everyone, I'll go back to where I started. Happy New Year again. And lovely to see all of your names bursting on my screen virtually as I talk to you tonight. And I'll jump on again in a couple of days at the caucus just to give you an update on a few other things outside of COVID-19. Till then, thank you for joining me this evening and enjoy your night. Take care.